Hope you've all had an interesting afternoon. You can see that the background has changed here behind me. Oh no, it's completely changed. So I'm going to walk over here. I have a little scolding to begin this session. Apparently, SwarmWorks is missing 200 of their signals. That's about a third of the people in this room who've decided to take it home as a souvenir. As I told you, it's a pretty cheap little piece of plastic. And if you happen to have forgotten and stuck it in your pocket, it would be very, very nice, and SwarmWorks would appreciate it greatly if you could drop them off at the EACD desk out front, and they'll be able to be returned to them. They are not great in value. On the other hand, they are relatively difficult to make, and so SwarmWorks would be very appreciative if they could get them back. So that was the first announcement. The second announcement is that, as you can see, things look a little different. We are shuffling the cards a bit, which I always like. We've decided to do the European Communication Award this afternoon because our winner was able to be here in person to pick it up. On the other hand, he was not able to be here at 8 o'clock this evening. So since he's here, we are going to proceed with the award ceremony, about which we are delighted. And in order to begin with the European Communication Award, I'd like to ask both of our president and our vice president of the EACD, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Herbert Heitmann and Florence Rançon up here on stage with me. So I'll just get both of you equipped with a microphone here. Florence, this is an exciting turn of events.
It is. It's a nice surprise. I think it's the first time we do it this way, and you know, it's nice to have a full room. It's a different atmosphere. It's part of the business day, which is also a nice side to it, you know?
Exactly. How about this is the 6th year for the European Communication Award. It's getting quite a history. Can you give us a review of the selection criteria for this year?
Well, when we started, we felt as professional communicators who, one thing definitely unites, that's why we all work in Europe. And the vast majority believes that Europe and a better, stronger, bigger Europe is an even better thing. We felt we can also help to communicate the European idea. That created a few challenges for us in the process, which we solved with UEFA and the Euro itself. Interesting when you look back where we stand today. But at one point we realized at the end of the day, it's to award those who most effectively tell their story, communicate their agenda, and in corporate cases, this is the CEO, so we said, let's focus on this, let's see which is the CEO, he or she, who did the best job in the last year. Mm-hmm. And then the only challenge was, how can we do this in the most objective way so that not any kind of personal favorism results in the outcome.
And that...
And, okay, I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask a second question that this doesn't end up as a monologue.
The objective part,
the objectivity, what you use as analytics. We are very thankful for Karma, who provide us with this service here. To scan all the publications across Europe, see who is most successful in delivering his or her messages in line with what they want to be seen as. And so they produce a shortlist, and then certainly we want to give you, the members, also a say, not completely rely on instrument and algorithms. And so the shortlist is then presented to all the members. They have the final say, and you, the members, decided who we have now here this evening. And so thank you very much for this strong collaboration.
Well, we aren't going to draw this out any longer because everybody, including our winner himself, is on a tight schedule. So, Florence, if I had a drum, I would roll it. Could you please reveal this year's winner?
We're delighted to welcome this year's winner, Marc Bolland, CEO of Marks & Spencer. Now, Marc, if you'll allow me, I'll say a few words about you and why you're here today and why I think all our members voted for you rather than anybody else. What's so special about Marc and what's so special about his current position? Well, to understand that, I think you need to understand what he stands for. Marks & Spencer's is not just any retailer. It's the British institution. It's Marks & Sparks. It is something that anybody who's ever spent a bit of time in the UK will identify with, and any Brit will certainly identify with, because it's part of everybody's daily life. Now, the proof of that is that the business media obsessively monitors what the store's sale figures are, and on that they base their prediction for the country's economic future. Now, in 2001, when Marks & Spencer closed down all of their stores on the continent or outside the UK, it was a big blow to Britain's self-esteem. Whereas since then, they've reopened 41 stores throughout Europe, and it's now a source of national pride. Given all this, it's no surprise that each one of Marc Bolland's decision and comment since he took on this position in May 2010 has received a great deal of coverage in the press. It is also a spotlight under which he seems to thrive, and that made him nominated or named by One magazine in the UK as the most admired business leader in 2011, and he was named this by 100 of his peers in FTSE companies. He's very confidently communicated on how he plans to grow Marks & Spencer into an international multi-channel retailer, and he's invested £900 million over the last, over 3 years. That's the plan. The plan's over 3 years. He's only been here a year and a half, so give him a little bit more time. But that has really won over the public and the critics. It is a pretty bold move for a Dutch-born CEO of, as I said, a British institution. And he's got a very good understanding of the market. He's handled very well the disparate element of style and business that he's had to face. On the one hand, he's made very shrewd appointments by recruiting competitors, people from Tesco's and Morrison's. On the other hand, he's really initiated collaborations with people such as the Dutch industrial designer Marcel Wanders or the legendary English designer Sir Terence Conran. These are things that indeed brought a lot of attention on his way of managing Marks & Spencer. So whether you talk about style or breaking new business ground, Marc Bolland's media approach has really hit home and abroad as well. This is why we're very pleased and proud to present him as a true European border crosser this year's Communication Award.
Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Marc Bolland, the winner of the European Communication Award 2012. We're delighted to have you with us. You can place your award here, and if you'd like to come over here to say a few words. Thank you very much, Florence and Herbert as well.
Thank you very much. This was, of course, too much of good. There must be a couple of things that are bad, otherwise you're never a good communicator, as you all know better than I do. You're probably the most difficult audience I would speak to this year, but I've been asked to say a few words. And instead of giving you a speech, I was actually asked to give a bit of a profile. What are we doing? Because I would say the words are not telling the full story. The story is a little deeper than that. And I have put down just a couple of slides for you, not to give you too much after this busy day, but it talks about sustainability and growth. It talks about a story, by the way, that I talk about behind the scenes, actually nearly every quarter at an occasion. I am hardly in the media, although you saw quite some photographs, on a voluntary basis. But the one thing that I do is that at institutions, and I'll come back to that, like the World Economic Forum and others, I'm extremely active behind the scenes to work on exactly this theme, the preparations of Rio plus 20 and others. Our company, just a small introduction, our company needs to become a multi-channel international retailer. When I arrived, I made our strategy very short. It's actually in one sentence. And it's not because it's American textbook, and it's not because it looks beautiful, but it was simply the reality that the world in 5 years' time will be multi-channel, it will be e-commerce, and it will be international, because e-commerce is cross-boundary. So there is no other way than to go that direction. However, where we came from, and probably a little bit where we still are, and there are quite some British in the area, so you should be careful, is that we are, of course, a traditional British retailer. And to become a multi-channel international retailer is quite a swing. What is even more interesting is that we said to each other, because this is something that I created with my colleagues, with the board, and discussed extensively with my largest shareholders, is that we're going to do it in 3 years. So we have 127 years of classical British retailing, and 95% of our business is in the UK. But we need to get out of the UK for a part. Not because the UK isn't great, but because growth opportunities are probably bigger outside of the UK. The two things to do that is multi-channel. Now, being a traditional UK retailer, I launched a plan together with colleagues, and as we said, yeah, some person came from Tesco, and it was actually Laura Wade-Geary, ran the biggest .com in Europe, and came to us. Well, I was just pleased, because what you need to have is the best talent in the house, but also people that dream a little bit. Because Tesco.com was a lot larger than our activities, but she was understanding the dream that when we could get M&S outside of the UK into Europe and outside, they could only be done if she would come up with brilliant ideas how to get there. So what we're doing at the moment is we are doing technical words to re-platform. So we have the ambition to say, who's best in class in the world? Probably these are small garages. Probably that's the young guy of 16 years old that's in a garage trying for himself. He's the fastest, he's the cleverest, and he's smarter and outsmarting all of our bigger companies. Now, I want to be as smart as the young kid. I want to be as solid as Amazon on the back. And that is difficult to build. But that's what we're building now. A very solid platform, but as smart and probably as sexy as Net-a-Porter when you come in. Secondly, we did in-store technology. In-store technology was a thing we know nothing about. And funny enough, if you're walking here over the high street or in London or in New York, you don't see much technology used. We have invented together with suppliers over the last 12 months technology where you can use swiping technology to build outfits for ladies in your store on the web. So you can say, does this fit with the other thing that I'm buying? And they find technology for us to export it. We have what is called a virtual makeover at beauty. We never had a big beauty department. Now, within 12 months, we have the ability that when you come to a store of ours, and in that new beauty department, a lady sits down, takes a photograph of her own face, with a bit of assistance, gets makeup on that photograph, makes it beautiful, sends it on Facebook to her friends and says, do I look beautiful today? Should I buy this? She can take it home, and she says, on her iPad, she sends this to her own email address, and at home she can change it again, and she can order online. Technology that didn't exist, that we now have. But it's funny, and women like it. We've only started this 4 weeks, but this is technology you can't find on a large scale yet. So what we are now, as a company suddenly, we are still a traditional, good, solid British retailer, but for technology companies, I suddenly now get phone calls from really large, important innovators in technology saying, hey, there's one funny retailer that likes to experiment. And that changes the mindset in the company. We have lots of things that we've done on mobile. When you now go around, we have the mobile swipe. So what you read about mobile, my credo with the team of Laura Wade-Geary is, anything I read in a nice magazine, we ought to already know or have. So when we talk about, yeah, with your mobile, you know, you can Google app where the store is, that's logical. Or if I would, for instance, swipe a certain product, it goes back to the website, gives you all the information. Sort of basics for a lot of people. Let's make sure that we got the basics. But the nice thing is we're not trying to get, and I'm saying trying because one of the things is not easy, to get 10 websites live in local language, local currencies in the world. So that means it's not like we're sending out things from a national basis, but you have a website in France that is French language, French culture, and therefore talks to the French in the way the French want to be spoken to. Because communication is not about sending, as you know better than I, it's about receiving. It's about engaging. It's about a dialogue. It's about emotion. And if we can't bring emotion in there, then we don't do enough. International, we have, as been said, we have tried it 3 times as a company and actually have been relatively successful, but the last withdrawal was actually about 10 years ago. We now started hiring a team of people that are truly international. So the leadership team of 4 people speak in total 11 languages. They've worked for at least seven different retailers in total. They have experiences in all parts of the world. They are not M&S. But immediately with that, we have combined a team of M&S people that are in their support teams or they are country managers, not to lose the heart and the soul of the company. We have now focused on priority markets, India, Shanghai, Russia, the Gulf. And what we're doing at the moment is we've opened a store in Shanghai, Golden Bell, last week, 2 weeks ago, and there was a queue out for 3 hours. That was not the case when M&S opened a store abroad in the past. And when you would look inside that store, you would not recognize the store you saw in the past in Brussels, in Paris, or in London. That's a totally different ballgame. What we're doing now is we're opening at this second half of the year at a run rate of 100 stores a year. So we'll do 2 stores a week. And these are not small stores. They are stores of about 2,000 to 3,000 square meters. And these stores will be opened in either Mumbai, in Dubai, in Shanghai. It doesn't necessarily needs to be an I, but these are 3 easy. What should I say? Russia, Turkey. But they open up on the run rate. But the nice thing is they're not only opening up. They already have local organization. They have people on the ground that speak the languages, that know the culture, and they know what to work through. And that is the thing we, as M&S, we've never done. So coming back to communication terms, that one sentence allowed me to build an organization in 12 months that was speaking all the languages, had the retail background, understood the message, understood where to go, and actually had such a deep knowledge that we now comfortably sit down and say, the next opening in Shanghai, we don't need to send the whole team there. The Chinese have already got what we want. They understand it. They will roll out the next 7. We have a plan A, and I combine that because it is as important as the business is sustainability. Our plan A is a story that I haven't started. I only picked it up halfway down the line. I finished it over the last 2 years. It is a revolutionary plan that Sir Stuart Rose started, so he should have credit for that, not me. Honesty is important in communication, as you know. We had 100 commitments. And of these 100 commitments, we actually succeeded in 94. I was happy it was 94. 100 out of 100, wouldn't trust it. We audit this. We give every year a conference. We just recently had our conference on Plan A. We have 1,200 people paying for that, coming out of the US, other places, to just talk on the subject on how sustainability is run and how you can improve it. And the main thing is, we were honest because we didn't achieve 100 out of 100. There were things like the tripling organic food. We couldn't make it because organic food didn't triple in its size as a market. So we said, we're not going to push it further. We're not going to throw it for low prices in. We're going to do only the things that we can achieve, not the things we can't achieve. And this honesty has helped us, because 94 out of 100 was actually quite a strong. If you look at, we are the first major retailer in the world to become carbon neutral. So the last 2 years we pushed that very hard. There is nothing going to landfill. 100% of the waste is being recycled. And that's for retailers not easy, because you always have some plastics hanging around. And we have 26% packaging use, whilst we have 18% more turnover of goods. So that's about 40% less. Now, the main thing is that my successor was very grateful for the first 2.5, 3 years that he ran it, so he gave me 80 extra commitments the months before he left. You always have to have something nice for your successors. We have achieved from those at the moment also around a little bit more than 30 of those commitments by now. That sounds all very nice, Bolland. That sounds all very nice box-ticking exercise. And that's how I call it internally. Although, when I talk to my team on that, or things like big internal conferences on Plan A, we know that it's just very hard work. Some of the northern, I started in Yorkshire, would say it's bloody hard work to get it done. But it is. But the thing is, it's not enough. So when I actually come to talk about this, I made this little presentation for the World Economic Forum this year. I've been 6 years in the consumer goods industry group. That is actually a group, some of you might know it, because there will be parts of colleagues of yours going there. That's actually a group of not more than 45 CEOs of all big consumer good companies in the world. So that is Mukhtar Kent of Coca-Cola, Irene Roosevelt of Kraft, but also Mike Duke of Walmart and Carrefour, and all of them sit in one room for a whole afternoon. It's lunch, it's afternoon, and it's behind closed doors. Nobody knows the agenda, nobody knows what's going as an outcome, except for the work that needs to be done within the WEF. The morning session of the WEF is again behind closed doors, is a session of ministers of environment, some NGOs, large NGOs, and some of these business leaders, also like Sir Martin Sorrell and Maurice Lévy, the communicators, the people we all know. And the WEF was giving me a challenge, which is about as large as to talk to you, is to get this day organized and pushing it this year. So you had the Rio +20 on the government side, you had this small group. I actually, when I came there, I said, look guys, this is what we're doing. It's just fact-based, because I've been in these working groups for 6 years, so I know the guy, and I know them because I used to work in manufacturing, so Mukhtar Kent I know about 12 years. He's been, I'd say, nearly a friend. I know him when he was working in Turkey still. So when I talked to him as now being the big Coca-Cola boss, I said, Mukhtar and others, we do on water a great job on green growth, global packaging, climate change initiatives. These are all projects that the big companies work together on harder than governments do. Let me not be misunderstood. This is really first-class cooperation. That was not the case 5 years ago. There's other ones there. The only thing is, it is all on the side of what I call industry lens. It's all on raw materials, and it is on manufacturing. Is it enough? The dilemma is, as we all know, is there are at the moment 2 planes flying. There's a plane flying on this side, and there's a plane flying on that side. And this is the plane of resources, and this is the plane of consumption. And with, for example, 30 million Chinese coming into the higher wealth over the next 3 years, that consumption piece is only going up, and the resources piece is only going down. And these 2 planes are going to meet. And it won't take a generation and a half to meet. So what needs to be done and what is wrong? What is wrong is that we all have been growing up in what I call the American dream. We've been growing up with the idea that the ideas of the 70s is a larger car, the Cadillac still had their proper size, but when we looked at around, we all grew up with the Coca-Cola, the American dream of consumption. That has fueled us, but also fueled the desire of us. Because these things were not only available, they were advertised, and they were all modeled. But funny enough, if you look at that, it was done in a way that not everybody lived the American dream. The 60s brought us a lot of reflection on the American dream at the same time. But if we look now, what the other dream is that if we look what the dream could be, the new dream that people want us to live, and we probably want the world to live, is a green world, where if you see the car on the right-hand side, it looks pretty attractive. It's an electric car, but nearly no one is buying it. Because the football players of today, the role models of today, the great, great artists and movie stars of today live the material world even more than we imagined in the 70s, much more. It's all about Bentleys, it's all about bigger, it's all about more. So in fact, we are totally on the wrong track in our own companies to advertise what we're doing. In fact, if we don't start changing the norm, you will never repair it. If you don't change already, when we were sitting down with our 45 guys together, saying you reach out to every individual in the world, you know, Nestlé, Paul Brugge was there, him or Paul Polman would reach out in Africa, in Indochina, to everyone nearly with their products. But if we set the norm wrong, consumption will go on in the wrong direction. If we look at what then of projects there are around the world, now how many projects are there to talk about marketing? How many things have you here discussed, and how many things is your company or you as a group, or can we as a group do in terms of communication? Funny enough, on the World Economic Forum side, there was nothing. In the Rio +20, when I talked to Nick Clegg as a briefing when he had to be leading the delegation in the UK, I said to Nick, I said, where is that part of the story? He said, it was just 5 minutes before 12 because the delegation had already made their statements. He said, you're right, it's not in. We should bring it in. It's not there. And funny enough, if you see what's happening, that part, if you don't get the consumer engaged, you don't get a positive change of that norm. You never get the emotional change of mindset. This is a thing that you cannot solve on your own, but you can do a trial. So I have, behind the scenes, as I said, have the discussion very strongly with my colleagues, and we've received, after our World Economic Forum, a couple of clear guidances from ourselves to start changing things for our own companies and together. I've been last week in Turkey at the Consumer Goods Forum for the same story, because they link up and said, Mark, can you also talk to all consumer good companies that come from different countries to line them up on the same idea? But I can only do it when I am living this in truth and doing something myself. So what I said at M&S, let's set something up that is cradle to cradle. Let's set something up that is also true and honest, where we are vulnerable. So I thought through with my people, communication people, marketeers, a program that we called swapping. The nice thing is you have to invent a new world. When you set a new norm, you need to have Google or swapping, because otherwise the new generation, or even generation of us, is not going to see that it's different enough. So we said, we want to start swapping clothes. What does it mean? If somebody comes to us in the UK, and coming up international as well, we want people fundamentally to go in their house and to pick from their garments one of the things they're not wearing, taking it to the store. Could be bought at us, but could be bought anywhere. We don't mind. And then coming to us and say, I'd like a new shirt, and you hand over an old pair of pants. Now, when I started that, there were a couple of people saying, that's risky, Mark, because all of you, as marketeers and communicators, would know, well, as soon as I'm going to look at my dress room and I see I've got already 3 summer dresses waiting there that I bought last year not using, I might not going to buy another one. Tant pis. If I say that they will stop buying that extra dress, and for that reason I don't want to change the consumer behavior and the mindset, of course. It will not come for free. It will not be always adding. It has to change fundamentally. So we said everybody can bring back clothes to us, they bring it to us, and every single piece of clothing will be resold. So we have a cooperation with Oxfam, where we resell it through Oxfam stores when it is really a valuable item. It will be reused. We have an African line where in Tanzania and other countries, bras and other products are completely reused. Or it will be completely recycled, but nothing goes to landfill. Now, if I would ask in your countries how much goes to landfill, you would not want to know the number that goes to landfill in terms of clothing. And this is the only full circular cradle-to-cradle opportunity. Now, again, Bolland, nice story, and a nice story looking at that. It's all own homework, but will the consumer get engaged? So I started dreaming a little bit, and I said there's only one person in our country that can talk about that. There's only one woman who is strong enough to battle government, and who is hard, independent, critical, and have fought with the government in the UK for 5 years to get the Gurkhas recognized for their work during all the wars, and that's Joanna Lumley. So Joanna Lumley is the unprecedented woman in that country that would stand up not only to government, she therefore is also in my advisory board to look at whether we do things right. But since she's not the only one in, when I talk to Professor Yunus, the Nobel Prize winner, he's also in, and they give me a hard time whether I am doing it strict enough, hard enough, far enough. My strongest criticasters are in my own room. But Joanna is better to engage, because the whole story is not about setting something up that might be nice. It's about how can we get emotionally in the hearts, in the minds, in the ears, in the body, and changing that norm. I can't change that norm. Joanna might. Can I have a piece of video, please?
M&S have a big idea. Swapping. It's time to open your mind, your heart, your arms, and your wardrobe. Because we think that old clothes shouldn't just be thrown out. They should do some good. They should have a future. So every time you buy something new, give us something old. It doesn't even have to be from M&S. We'll pass the clothes on to our partners, Oxfam. Clothes are either resold, reused or recycled. It's brilliant because nothing goes to landfill. The money raised goes to help people in poverty. Remember when we used to just throw away bottles? Now we recycle them without even thinking about it. Well, why can't we do the same with clothes? Our aim is to recycle as many clothes as we sell and change the way we shop forever. Come on, let's go shopping.
We launched it 7 weeks ago. At the moment, we have roughly 500,000 items returned to store. That's perfectly handled. That's not a problem. At the day, by the way, that there would be 100 million items coming back to store, which is not undoable, because in Britain there are hundreds of millions of items sold per year, not only by us, but by others. Still, we are able to do it. It will cost us money. It will be logistically very difficult. But when we started, all of our staff said, why not? We're doing it. But there is still a long way to go. My plea to you is when you return, to just have a look. Because, in fact, all companies, if you go a bit deeper, have all cradle-to-cradle opportunities. It might not be the business process, as technical guys say, in total. It might be only a piece of your business. But to change the mindset, to get things running, to change the norm, I've asked my 45 colleagues in Davos to start it. I'll come back next year to show them this and to discuss with Mark Parker of Nike, who's a good friend on that, because you've got a few forefront runners in the world, and Nike is one of them. And Mark Parker and I will present what he does with the shoe, and I'll do with clothing, to just make sure that everybody finds his way of get things cradle to cradle. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Mark, could we get a photograph of you with your trophy? Let's take your trophy. Just before we get to a couple of questions with Marc Bolland, our photographer would like an opportunity to take a picture of the man with his prize. Congratulations, Mark, and thank you so much for being here again. Thank you also for a very interesting presentation and a lot of interesting points to think about in terms of sustainability. You've come here to pick this up yourself. What's the significance of a prize like this for you?
I relate with prizes actually always back, not only for my own prizes, but like sportsmen do. You know, it's only there because there's a function of the team. And the nice thing is when I came in here, and this was sort of, and apologize for that, I had to be in Spain tonight, so I said, I can please come, but can you slot it in a little bit? Is that when my communication team, he was applauded already, said it was so efficient, they did it well, they communicated well. You know, it is actually the same thing as winning a prize on sports. It's only, you know, the team behind it. I'm the voice, but this work is all done by others, of course. So, yes, I'm very grateful, but it makes me modest, because it seemed a little bit that I seek the limelight. In all honesty, people that know me a little bit better from the UK, I'm actually, in comparison with my predecessor, hardly in the media. My communication credo with my team has been, first in the past, Sir Stuart Rose was the role model for, probably also he was looking very attractive, for the British woman that really liked him and really still like him. And that was in the media always first Stuart Rose, second the company, third the product. And that was fine, because most of you know, and it's a good friend of mine, so he would allow me to say that. And when I walked in, I said very quickly to your colleagues in my organization, I said, it's very simple, guys. From now on, it's exactly the other way around. It's first product, then the company, then Bolland. And I would like every morning at 7 o'clock a review of what is mentioned in the newspapers on the levels of product, company, and Bolland. And every morning at 7:30 on my phone, I get the information on that. I can tell you since then, most of it is product. Some of it is still company, because everybody likes to talk about Marks and Spencer's. And hopefully not too much about me. Some of it will always be there, but I'm not trying to seek the limelight.
Now, Florence mentioned you're a multilingual Dutchman running this uniquely British institution, and obviously that mix of cultures has also... How difficult a swing was that for you as a CEO, but also for the company, and how is that mix of cultures? It's obviously a good thing, but tell us how it's working.
Hoffentlich haben Sie keine Fragen über Fußball, weil Deutschland has...
Ich habe natürlich eine Frage über Fußball.
Das wird vielleicht später dann kommen. I think it is important for the journey. I think it is not important for running M&S. I think it is important that somebody at M&S understands British culture, but not necessarily speaks all languages. But on the other hand, for the journey to become a multi-channel international retailer, a certain international experience is certainly very helpful.
How do you do your homework? I've read that you're a very hands-on guy.
Well, I have to tell, because otherwise you'll tell it as a good journalist. I said to her, well, I've never been good at doing homework. You know, I was called by my cousin in the car on the way here, who is now in the front of an exam, and I thought, geez, if I would have been as thorough as him, that would have been much faster than I've done it now, probably. No, I think homework is a matter of... I think homework is a matter of having very much a general interest in life. I think I've learned more. Funny enough, I, for instance, rarely read magazines on marketing or management books. Yes, I've done a lot of that because I've got an MBA and that kind of things. But I think one of the things is that it is very much true experiences in life that help you going through things that you see. And I've had the luck to have worked in Central Eastern Europe when the wall fell down. I was there quite quickly in 1994 in Eastern Slovakia when there were no foreigners in Slovakia. I started my working life in Africa in Kinshasa. So I didn't start with Goldman Sachs in New York, but I started in Kinshasa, Congo as a market researcher in the outskirts for a year, living as a local contract and not an expatriate. That has helped me through the things, because if you now then meet people, see people, you genuinely can sometimes see the stories that are happening in other countries because you have lived, seen, and experienced it a little bit more. If you then add it with a flavor of a healthy curiosity, and I love to read, so if you read a lot, then it's not about, I'm not against management books at all, but the only thing is I want to keep my mind very pure. And, you know, Peters and Waterman during my studies told me that we all have to go back to the core, and when I read it, I'm a bit of a rebel. I thought, well, I better get out of the core then, because when everybody moves there, that might not be the best place to be. So in that sense, that made my sense of listening to what 2.5 million people are going to do tomorrow not the way forward.
Now, the other thing that I've read is that you also seek to embody very much the company. Dare I ask, is the outfit Marks and Sparks? She told me there would be a sort of a question like that, but this wasn't planned when I got dressed this morning, I have to promise you. No, I have a very easy policy for myself. All suits I wear, always Marks and Spencer's. Just the underwear?
All the shirts and the underwear. Not the shoes and not the tie. But I've got a news for you. This is the first 100% sustainable suit in the world. Oh, this suit is made of 100% organic wool, that if you scan this barcode here, it will Google you back to the farm where the organic wool comes from. So that would be for certain suits different than for others. It has the lining, the green lining, is made of recycled plastic bottles. The canvas of the suit is made of recycled polyester. And the buttons of the suit are coming from an excess button factory, of the recycling of an excess button factory. And that is put together by Richard James, who is the most successful tailor at the moment at Savile Row. So he cuts it for us. And we're going to sell it as a limited edition for £349. We only got 500, I'm afraid, but we're starting. And the nice thing is, my team came up. I didn't know they were doing this. And they came up, and then somebody, sort of like a dog with a bone in the house, saying, I got something for you, said to me, look, Mark, we got it. I said, what do you have? We've got the real first sustainable suit. We have been pushing them on all these agendas. And I didn't ask for exactly this configuration. It's what the team did, and they said, we got it now. So I hope there will be thousands and hundreds of thousands then bought over time.
Well, here for sustainability, and I guess everybody better be watching out for where the next Marks and Sparks retailer is going to be opening near you in the very near future. Mark, I have one more question, just because I know you're such a diehard soccer fan. The Euro 2012 was a tough one for most of us, especially for the Oranje. I hate to mention it.
It's, I must honestly confess, no, it's...
Don't walk away. Come on
don't
back
walk
here.
away from the German. I'll be closer by.
The Germans, we you know.
No,
we had a bum run
it's true.
too.
I'm a passionate football and sports fan. It's difficult to lose, but in all honesty, what you learn from losing is also the culture in a certain country. I don't want to defend in the meantime now the Brits, but when I was about 15, 20 years ago at a match where Holland was playing England in Rotterdam, and Holland won 2-1 or so, 5 minutes before time, all the Dutch fans left. And since I was in a sort of a restricted area, I waited a while with 2 or 3 friends. And there we saw the difference. And again, I'm a Dutchman and I'm chauvinistic. But what I felt there is that when everybody left, the only group that stayed were the Brits. Now, they were kicked out. And what happened is that when then it was a bit more quiet, all the British players came back on the pitch. And they walked to the corner, they applauded their audience, and all of them stood up and applauded their players. And that's what sport is about, and that's what the Brits do a little bit better than us.
Extraordinary sportsman who will have the honor of hosting the Olympic Games this summer. Marc, what message does a CEO give to a team that's just taken a walloping?
I think what you should do is probably when it's there, leave them alone for a while, because the one thing that people don't want to have is immediately somebody on their back when they have lost. I've done some sports myself, and the last thing is that everybody starts asking you, why didn't you win, or what was wrong? So I probably first thing is give people a bit of peace, and then later on make sure that the next time people are as competitive as they were when they started that game. So it's not about feeling sorry, but winning next time.
Thank you very much, Marc Bolland. Some great metaphors to apply to just about any profession. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking with us.